I apologize, I pushed the wrong button. Good evening, everyone, and it's 5:30, so I will call the meeting to order. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting of council by attending in person at the Ilderton Community Center located at 13168 Ilderton Road. Or members of the public can also access the meeting live streamed on our Middlesex Center YouTube channel. Contacting the municipal clerk to receive a registration link to join the meeting electronically. We have no additions to the agenda, so I will look to members of council. Is there anyone who needs to disclose a pecuniary interest? Seeing no hands, then the motion before us would be that the minutes of the Middlesex Center Council meeting held on the 12th of February be adopted as printed. Do I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Coles and Councillor Cates. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Council. We have quite a number of items on the consent agenda. These are typically received as one motion, and council can request that one or more item be removed for further action. So before we move to adopt these, is there anybody who, okay, I'll start with you, Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Yeah, just a comment to Rob on a speed radar signs. It was interesting to note that on the township roads where they were posted, the speeds were, for the most part, below the speed limit. And the only time the speed limits were exceeding the speed limits was on the county roads. So I think it shows when we get a lot of complaints on our subdivision roads and everything else that the speed isn't perhaps as fast as everybody thinks they are. And just to follow up to the precast culvert tender, does that speed up the length of time it takes to get the job done when you have a precast going in like that, Rob?
Yep, so through the mayor to deputy mayor, yeah, that's the intent, so that we have the materials purchased in advance, so that the contractor's not waiting on the materials and ideally can hit the ground running.
I see your hand, Councillor Cates.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Just two items I just wanted to make a comment on. Good work on the customer service survey, and to all those ladies at the front desk, all those people at the front desk. And also with the speed radar, I always like to see these results every year. And thank you to Andrew and the transportation department for being so accommodating on getting them out there where people are asking. Thank you.
And Councillor Arts.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this is a comment on 6.9, the condominiums in Timberwalk. There's tree plantings that are supposed to be proposed. And I was at a meeting last week, and I want to make for sure that any trees or shrubs that are planted are native species, because the wildlife, the insects, the birds, the bugs, and all that, they're preconditioned to live in harmony with what we've got here, and they don't like foreign plant species. So actually, I think it should be a township municipal bylaw should be that they have to be native plantings. Thank you.
Rob, do you speak to the list of approved trees? I know we have a list. We had to consult it at one point, and I think, yeah, can you add any clarity to that? Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I just wanted a moment to clarify something. So within our design standards for the municipality, we have a tree species list, which is for trees to be planted within the road right of way, the bulk of which are native, not 100%, but that's something that I'd like to update going forward. When it comes to a private property on the VLC, like so a VLC plan, for example, we can certainly ask that they have all native species, but I don't believe that's something that we can strictly enforce at this point.
If the developer is planting them, though, we can specify the developer has to plant native species, correct?
So again, so we can request that if they wanted to appeal that, right? That's something that certainly we can request it and push for that. It's something that I think they could come back and push back on us and look for say the OLT or something, right? I would hope that we wouldn't get into a battle over tree species to that point. But that whether or not we can control that 100%, I would say is questionable at this point.
Councillor Brewers?
So it's Carolinian forest. That's the native species. There's about 5 or 6 of them. That's what we normally plant in the area, but I'll move on from that. I have a question on 6.1. When is the new accounting software coming? Oh, let me turn.
So through Mayor DeVete, with respect to the accounting software, we are looking at doing an RFP in 2025 and hopefully implement the system over 2026 or 2027. We are researching different systems and software packages that are available, as well as working with other municipalities within the county, because the goal would be that we align the accounting software package that we all use countywide. And so more information to come, but that is the tentative outline. Timeline.
Thank you. So I have a few questions. Follow up on that same, I think I'll through you to Michael. So when are we going to see the first chat box, Michael? The first chat box, when I go in and chat with somebody about something, is that anywhere near on the horizon? All back to Tiffany.
So through Mayor DeVete, we are working closely with the county on having a chatbot implemented this year. And so our manager of strategic communications is working very closely with county IT. Not to steal her thunder, but I do imagine that will be happening relatively soon for all staff or all the public on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to continue on. Budget to actual. Question I have is, are we on budget? I guess this would be for Scott, through you to Scott. Are we on budget with the municipal office change?
Through the mayor, we into our contingency. So it depends on how you'd like me to answer that. So we are eating into our contingency. We are meeting with the architect tomorrow to review the financials. We just received a recent payment certificate, but things are looking good.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Is that everything? Oh, okay. Does anyone else have questions on any consent items? Oh, yes, go ahead, Deputy.
Very quick, I just wanted to comment on the YMCA surplus. That's huge this year, and I'm taking it, Scott, everything's working very well down there with them.
Through the mayor, as you had heard from Ash and Nancy, the past council, partnership's really strong with the Y. They're doing even more, expanding the camps this year at the Kamoka Community Center for an additional 4 weeks, plus all the work that they're doing with the youth center. And we're starting to see those levels, those membership levels come back to pre-COVID levels, which is good. Still a lot of room for capacity there. We can accommodate 3,000 members at that location. So still a lot of room for growth. But with the new developments happening there, I think that will continue to rise.
I'm sorry. My apologies. Okay, if there are no further questions, then the motion before us is that the consent items 6.1 through 6.9 listed on the February 29th, 2025 agenda be adopted as recommended. Deputy Mayor Brennan, Councillor Cates, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we can move on to staff reports. The first item we have is a report from Colin Toth, Director of Emergency Services and the Fire Chief, and he's going to provide, oh, maybe not. I'll let the fire department argue about who's going to say what.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. The report is to provide an update on council on our current progress and priority of the recommendations as noted in the 2023 Fire Services Master Plan and is for information purpose. The primary motivation for the Fire Services Master Plan is to assist the municipality and Middlesex Center Fire Services to establish both short and long-term strategies based on community risk, safety, corporate priorities, supported by council-approved budget allocations. The 2023 Fire Services Master Plan review accomplished identifying various internal and external goals. A couple of those were to ensure the function of the fire services closely aligns with the municipal's strategic plan, official plan, and development charge study. Recommendations of efficiencies with respect to working together with neighboring municipalities. Attached is the progress report document, which details recommendations contained in the plan, prioritization levels, and suggested timeframes, projected financial costs, and the status of each one. In the progress report or update, there were 13 recommendations in the fire master plan, and so far 3 have been completed. 2 have started, are in 40 to 90% completion, and 8 are being prioritized to align with future financial impacts. One of the priorities I just wanted to elaborate on a bit was number 5, the development of a unique health and wellness program tailored around the needs of the paid on-call firefighters. At the end of 2023, we started a relationship with a local Middlesex Center psychologist and his team who are experienced mental health clinicians to support our program. They have worked closely with police, fire, EMS in developing, implementing, and supporting the ongoing need of first responder professionals. In 2024, Middlesex Center Fire Services provided a list of potential peer support team members from across our department. They were given to the clinician and his team to vet through, and through interviews and discussions, we were able to have 13 members from across our 5 stations and 1 from HQ, non-management, become part of our peer support team. Training began last year with our doctor and his main colleague, and that at the Coldstream Station with multiple evening sessions. By the end of 2024 and 2025, we were able to reach out to all the stations with our doctor and his colleague, and we did an informal introduction of the doctor and his colleague as a face-to-face so everybody could see what the program was all about and hear it from the doctor versus hearing it from us. A couple of things that I just wanted to mention was last year, in 2024, before our peer support team was in place, we did have to use the doctor and his team for a significant event in one of our response areas, and received nothing but positive back from everybody who attended that, and that was on a voluntary basis. The one last thing that we had discussed was we always look at our firefighters as they're with us and, responding to the calls. But as firefighters leave us, whether it's 1 year, 10 years, 30 plus years, we want to ensure that those individuals are leaving and that their mental health is well. So we spoke with our clinician and his colleagues, and he has offered up an exit discussion with any member that leaves our department, just to ensure that everything is good at their end before they leave, because of the abnormal situations that they've seen while with Middlesex Fire Services. I'm happy to answer any more questions about anything in the report, and thank you.
Thank you for that report and update. I'll look to council for questions, comments. Questions? No hands? Okay. Thank you for the report then. It's good to have an update and hear all the news on making sure everybody's staying well at all levels. So, sorry, Councillor Cates, go ahead.
Sorry, I was distracted on the button. I just want to say, all the, good job on the, I think it's something that we should be very proud of at Middlesex Center that we have for, our firefighters and emergency responders. Thank you.
So the motion before us is that report FES 02-2025 regarding the Fire Services Master Plan Progress Update be received for information. If I could have a mover, please, and a seconder. Councillor Shipley and Councillor Cole I'll go that order this time. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and now we have the fire vehicle reallocation replacements report. I see Rob's getting ready, so the Director of Public Works and Engineering is going to provide the overview of that report.
So through Madam Mayor to council, so this report is looking for or seeking council approval to make some modifications to the replacement of emergency services fleet that have been identified in the 2024 and 2025 budget. So in those approved budgets, capital budgets, the 2024 budget included the replacement of the ARVA pumper tanker, and the 2025 budget included the replacement of the Illiton pumper tanker. Having looked at the condition of the assets, those two assets, as well as the Delaware fire engine, staff have decided that it would be more feasible or more appropriate to replace the Delaware engine as opposed to replacing the ARVA pumper tanker at this time. So the impact of what we're proposing, there's no financial impact. It doesn't change the budget. It's just reallocation from one fleet vehicle to another. So the intent would be to replace the Illiton pumper tanker with the sorry, I lost my place. So yes, so sorry, we would use the budget for 25 that was intended to be for the Illiton pumper tanker for the Delaware station engine replacement, and that the ARVA tanker would stay in operation. That its life expectancy is better than the Illiton pumper tanker and the Delaware station engine. So the intent would be that the pumper tanker that has been ordered for ARVA and is actually currently being built would be reallocated to Illiton and would be delivered this year. So in the 2025 budget, we did have a capital budget of $725,000 for the Illiton pumper tanker that was approved. So we would be reallocating that budget for the replacement of the Delaware engine. And we did reach out and get 3 quotes from qualified businesses, and the low bid that came in was $692,000, so less than the budgeted amount. I can get into the reasons for this, but essentially it's the Illiton pumper tanker. There's a concern with the tank on it. The tank is 30 years old. There's a significant crack in the tank, and there's concerns that it will ultimately fail. The Delaware engine has some issues with the vacuum pumps, I believe, that Colin can speak to. And the ARVA engine, although 21 years old, we believe we can still get a few more years out of that. So the intent will still be to replace it, but we're just pushing it forward a few years. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you for that report. Questions? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Shipley.
Through the mayor to Rob. Rob, how are we gonna, you can't even answer this question. What are we gonna do with these tariffs if they come along in respect to the price of these trucks?
I'm going to guess that nobody can answer that question completely. I know Andrew has asked, and maybe Colin has spoken to them too, but the belief is that there's going to be little impact with the tariffs. The low bid, and the other ones might be as well, but the low bid is definitely built within Canada. Not that components won't be coming from the US and to help build it, but it's built in Winnipeg. The intent was to try to get the order in as quickly as possible, again, to try to avoid them to the extent that we can.
Seeing no hands, then we do have a motion before us that report PWE number 8, 2025 be received, and that the purchase of one new fire engine be awarded to Fort Garry in the amount of $692,104, including the portion of the non-refundable HST. And a mover, please, Councillor Cates and Councillor Burrs, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now we can move on to 7.3, which is the application for consent and zoning bylaw amendment. And this report will be presented by Marian Francis Ramos Cabral. If you can present your report, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to the rest of council. So the purpose of this staff report is to provide a recommendation with regard to the rezoning and consent applications for 13326 14 Mile Road. The applicant requested to sever the existing grain handling facility from the farmland and appropriately rezone the severed parcel. Additionally, they requested a temporary use zone to permit a second house to be built on the property and then remove the existing house. So these applications were before council previously in December of 2024. Staff had recommended approval at that time. However, we did recommend that a holding symbol be placed on the farmland where the new dwelling would be built. And that holding symbol would require a noise impact analysis to be completed by the landowner before any development can be built. So since then, the applicant had provided some information from OMAFRA as well as some other noise information related to green handling facilities and typically what is expected from these types of facilities within the agricultural area. I reviewed the fact sheet from OMAFRA specifically. The document itself identified the average distances as well as the measured decibels from grain dryers with and without sound absorbent or mitigation measures. So generally where there are no mitigation measures implemented, sleep disturbance at approximately 65 decibels is experienced just over 150 meters away from the grain dryers, and with mitigation measures, obviously this amount is reduced. And just as a reference, a normal conversation measures at about 60 decibels, and rural ambient sound during the day measures at 45 decibels, according to OMAFRA's fact sheet. So since there are no further studies that are proposed by the applicant, staff wanted to ensure that the health and safety of any future residents of the farm parcel are addressed now, assuming that there are no mitigation measures that are introduced to that grain handling facility. Therefore, we are satisfied that we can not apply the holding symbol to require that noise study, but recommend that the zoning bylaw amendment have a setback of 200 meters between the dwelling and the grain handling facility. Also, staff recommend that the consent be approved subject to 15 conditions, and these conditions specifically address zoning, adding a warning clause on the farmland to identify elevated noise, a requirement for a change of use permit for that existing dwelling into a commercial space, as well as road widening dedication. And finally, staff recommend that the temporary use zone be approved for that period of 3 years to allow for the construction of the new dwelling. Again, these applications were reviewed with the account of all the information received by the applicant as well as from the public. Staff find that they are consistent with the PPS and conformity with the official plans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report, Marion. I will look to council. Are there questions or clarity required on anything here? Okay, I'm not going to, the 2 pages of the motion is quite long. There are 15 conditions, but the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, and it conforms to the Middlesex County official plan and our local Middlesex Center plan, and the conditions would comply with the Middlesex Center comprehensive zoning bylaw. So could I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Deputy Mayor Brennan, Councillor Burrs, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Council. Okay, now we can move into public meetings. We need a mover and a seconder that council move into public meetings at 5:54 p.m. pursuant to the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended to consider the applications listed on the February 26, 2025 council agenda. Councillor Cole, thank you, and Councillor Cates, all in favor? And that is carried. So the first application is an application for consent and a zoning bylaw amendment. The file again is Marion Cabral's. And if you'd like to present your report, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide a recommendation to council regarding the combined applications for the rezoning files at BA1 2025, as well as consent file B1 2025 for the property at 92 Harris Road in Delaware. The applicant requests to sever one parcel of land for future residential uses and to rezone the land for residential uses. The consent application proposes to sever 0.63 hectare parcel with 12 meters of frontage onto Harris Road and have the retained parcel be approximately 0.25 hectares in area and have 42 meters of frontage on Harris Road. The effect of the rezoning applications would essentially rezone the severed parcel from existing use to the community residential first density zone or the CR1 zone. And this is to recognize residential uses that would be permitted on the property and then rezone the retained parcel to CR1 again to recognize the existing residential use on the property. So this property is located on the south side of Harris Road and east of the intersection of Harris Road and Victoria Street, and is surrounded by low-density residential development, undeveloped land to the east and the south, as well as a public school to the south. So I do want to clarify to council and to members of the public that the applicant intends just to build one single-family house on the severed parcel at this time. However, due to the size and the location of the land in Delaware, there is municipal direction within our official plan, and specifically Special Policy Area 3, to review this entire area comprehensively and prevent premature development since there are no full municipal services currently available. As such, staff did ask the applicant to provide a concept plan showing how future development may work on the site and for it to be supported, and as well as show connectivity on the adjacent and undeveloped parcels. So this concept plan was attached to the staff report. And I believe it was attached to the application, the notice for the application as well. And this concept plan shows 5 lots, but that's not what's being considered. That's just a concept plan to show what could be developed in the future should this parcel be severed. Sorry, I just want to add that the concept plan again would only support future development if there are full municipal services available. So notice of this application was circulated to area residents, and at the time of writing my staff report, I did not receive comments from the public. However, since then, we did receive a few letters from area residents asking about the proposal, the amount of dwellings that could be proposed on the site. Additionally, we did receive a letter outlining concerns with this infill development. Specifically, there were concerns about privacy, the significant change to the character or feel of the neighborhood, as well as the removal of the tree canopy in the area and the preference to sever the land into 2 equally sized parcels that would match the existing lot fabric in Delaware. Municipal staff did review the applications and provided detailed comments related to the severance as well as the future development of the lands. Specifically, Public Works and Engineering identified concerns with the requested 12-meter frontage and asked that the frontage be widened to 20 meters to allow for a future public right-of-way to serve the property as well as the undeveloped land if that were to ever develop in the future. Additionally, Public Works and Engineering requested that the retained and severed parcel should be of sufficient size to place a septic bed and contingency area, and that the applicant pay a future road upgrade fee for the severed lot only. This is specifically for urbanizing that 20 meters of frontage. Further comments relate to the development of the severed parcels, such as the provision of stormwater management, grading, and servicing plans in order to develop the severed parcel through a development agreement. Staff reviewed the applications, especially with regard to Special Policy Area 3, which does provide some opportunity for development on partial servicing, as long as the lands are located on an existing public road such as Harris Road. Given the comments from Public Works and Engineering to provide the 20 meters of frontage, the applicant did revise their concept plan and included it and demonstrated that the 20 meters can be supported on this land without significantly affecting the rest of the severed parcel. Based on this 20 meters of frontage, Staff are in position to support the severance subject to 13 conditions. Special conditions apply, such as the payment for the future road upgrade, to require the 20 meters as a minimum, land dedication requirements off of Harris Road, and confirming the septic system and contingency area on the retained and severed parcel can be accommodated. As well, staff evaluated the requested zones. And again, going back to the ability to look at this site comprehensively, we wanted to limit the amount of development as possible, but still be flexible and permissive for future development. Therefore, we are recommending that the rezoning only apply to the area where the future house would be built. So the CR zone would only apply to what would be the back of the property to allow for that one single family home to be developed, and the existing use zone to apply to the rest of the severed parcel, and recognize that 20 meters of frontage. And this would be essentially like a holding zone until that property has full services available for future development. Staff also recommend adding the holding symbol to require development agreement to enter into with the municipality before development occurs on that separate parcel for that single family home. So as a result review, staff recommend that the consent application is amended to create a 20 meters of, to create a parcel with 20 meters of frontage, be approved subject to the 13 conditions, and that the rezoning application as amended by staff be approved. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report. I'll look to council. Councilor, oh, wait a minute. No, sorry, I jumped ahead. Would the applicant like to make any comments or raise any other additional information? If you'd like to, you may. If you don't want to, that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to push my button off. And if you put yours, it'll come red. And then you can speak. And if you turn it off, then we'll be turned to the other mics.
So we're just proposing to sever off 1.5 acres, place a home at the back of the property. We did a concept to show more lots, but we all know that unless sewage treatment comes, there's no more than just one home being built. But we've done the concept to support future development when sewage treatment comes, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it might be. So we're just looking to sever off the 1.5 acres and just put one home on it. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Then are there members of the public in attendance who would like to speak to this? If you do the same, come forward and then push the button and I'll turn mine off and you can have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Steve Scott. I am at 85 Harris, so I'm directly across from said property. And much like everyone, I received this, didn't really know what it was, didn't really care, and then started reading into it. And my concerns was for future development. Basically, thank you to the planner. She assuaged a lot of my fears. But my issue is, in essence, the road. So not so much now, but for future development, it points right at my front window. And traffic issues, that's what my biggest thing was, but now it's one single family dwelling. It shouldn't be a concern. And now that they've widened it to 20 meters, that's fine too. My one request would be to leave the trees until the further development comes down for the sewers and the storm drains and sidewalks. The existing trees are on the west side of the property along that 20 meters. So that was basically it. And thank you to the staff for and Councillor Frank for answering my questions. One other thing is maybe in the future, put a plan into it, some additional information onto this, because it just trying to figure out what was coming was very concerning, because it just seemed high density. That CRX, I was trying to read what was available for that, and we were just thinking it was going to be, I don't know. So it's just it's the traffic issues, because the Harris Road, if anyone's been on it, is a dog walker's area and there's no lighting and you have to be aware when you're driving. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this? No. Okay. In that case, I can now turn to council and I had your hand, Councillor Burrs.
Okay, through you, your worship, to, I don't know if you can hear me, Perry, or, so there's 5 lots depicted here, so you can build on one property. Is it gonna be what is designated as lot 1? Is that where the first house goes, or is it lot 5 behind the current residence? Are you gonna talk to it, Steve? Yeah, would you, press the button?
So it's gonna be built at the very back, the proposed house will be built at the very back in the middle lot, so that the road will be on the one side, a lot on the other side. And the house would be built on the lot at the very back.
All right, so that's designated as lot 1 with a temporary septic field behind it?
Yes, beside
Okay,
it.
that's, yeah, and I've heard, and the houses that are gonna be built there, whenever they are, will be in keeping with the neighborhood. 1, maybe 2 stories, it's fine. And is this road going right in? Is the full road going in then?
Yeah, they'll be putting in a whole laneway and
Okay.
it'll be the width of the 20 meters.
All right, thank you.
And I have Councillor Shipley.
So anyone can answer this. Through the mayor to the applicant, I'm assuming a temporary septic will become a house once the municipality puts in. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll start with you, Councillor Cates, and you can digest in the meantime.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I will say this was a complicated one to read, but then when you figure it out, it's like, okay, now I get it. I just wanted to say to this other gentleman here, just a little comment on your public notice. I see that lots where people get the notice of whatever it is and they're like, oh my God, but you have to wait until the agenda comes out because we don't even know that information either. So just to address your concern there, it happens to everybody. So thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, just note that. And I have Councillor, do you want to speak to Councillor Hertz?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Cates took the words right out of my mouth, so we're good.
Okay, Councillor, if you're clear on everything, there is again a considerable amount of writing with regard to the motion. Again, 13 conditions. If I could have a mover, please, and a seconder, Councillor Burrs and Councillor Cates. Thank you. All in favor of that. And that is carried. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and time. And now we can move to item number 9. So we need a motion that we can move out of public meetings at 6:08 p.m. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Cates and Deputy Mayor Brennan, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. We don't have any notices of motion. There is one item in correspondence. Okay, so there is a motion before us that correspondence item 11.1 be received as for information. If there's a mover, please, and a seconder, Councillor Cates, Councillor Bird, Deputy Mayor Bedden, and all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, is there anything under other business? I see shaking of heads. In that case, we have bylaws next. There are 2. The motion before us is that bylaws number 2025, number 19 through bylaw 2025, number 20 be adopted as printed. Moved by Councillor Coles. Councillor Cates, is your hand. Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. And finally, we have a motion that council for the municipality of Middlesex Center adjourns February 26, 2025 meeting at 6:09 PM. Councillor Shipley and Councillor Arts, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much.